eventually you decided you went to the police and you spent 3 hours one day.
Very big conversation, and this poor, gorgeous young policewoman who was studying law.
What drove you that day to say, that's it?
Oh, well, it had been a very abusive evening the night before. We had long-term friends that had been at our home, dining with us, and loved them so dearly, and he'd humiliated me so much in front of them about my job and things that were happening in my life. And it was that dance that we used to do that, you know, he would get abusive verbally and those sorts of things, and it was ramping up to something, and I could feel it. And he was also having an affair, which I knew about, and there was a lot of awful tension.
He'd had several affairs, is that right?
Many affairs, and he'd been texting this person at the table, which was unspeakably humiliating for me. Even our friends were saying, mate, please put the phone down.
So they knew he was texting?
Well, they could see, it was so obvious, and because he was so drunk, he couldn't actually even pretend. It was so obvious, and it was humiliating, and such an awful moment. And he'd been violent that week on the Wednesday. This was the Friday, and my daughter had actually, my 18 at the time year old daughter, who I adore, had come to me and just said, Mum, I can't do this anymore. I heard him, I heard it, and I'm losing respect for you. And she's a young woman now, and a beautiful young woman, and my son's a lovely young man. But they started to lose it for me, and that was the catalyst and the turning point. I thought, if I don't have the guts to do this now, I'll be here when I'm 80, getting swung around the room, and I had to find it somewhere.
So while you didn't care enough about yourself, you did care your kids, the impact this was having on your kids, and how they felt about you.
Yeah, definitely.
That was what it took.
That was pretty much one of the final pieces that sat on me, and then I thought, okay, so I did what I did. I went to the police. I did the 3-hour dump. I was incoherent, I think. I don't know how she even took notes, but it's it's your whole life coming out onto somebody, and you're scraping away all your layers that you've carefully applied, and it's very, very frightening because you haven't been real. You've been a fake all your life.
You felt so vulnerable. Like, here's what's really gone on.
Beyond naked, just scrubbed.
Beyond naked.
Scrubbed, and it really hurt, and it was so scary. And the beautiful policewoman, I'd love to meet her today, but she made me promise that I wouldn't go home and reconcile. And I would have. I know I would have. I did it so many times. So I'd gone so much further than I ever had, but she said, Kerry, you will go home, he'll say sorry, he'll kiss you, you'll make up, he'll buy you some flowers, and you'll go back to this. And so she said, I've just spent 3 valuable hours with you, and I'd really like to think that you'll consider that.
So what was it that you didn't go back to him that time?
Well, I think she was a really big part of it, because it was kind of somebody else that I'd trusted and told things I'd never told anybody. I told her little details that I think really hit her very hard. I think she was quite affected by it.
Yeah, just as a human being, as a woman.
I think so. I do, and gorgeous girl. And I just thought somebody else that I actually can read, and I think I would have lost her respect, and even though she was a stranger, it really sort of started to resonate with me at the time. And I think if you don't listen to the whispers, the shouts knock you over.
So finally, we often hear, the elevator doesn't have to get to the bottom floor before we get off sometimes in a relationship or in addiction or anything. Yeah. But that's what it took. And obviously must have been extraordinarily confronting. And I mean, the courage that would have taken, because you've invested over 2 decades of your life. You've raised children. You have this whole life built around a lie, but it's a big life. It's a comfortable life. Absolutely. You look good.
Yeah, we were Ken and Barbie.
You were Ken and Barbie. And
well, we looked like Ken and Barbie, but
no, I get it. But, and so enormously difficult. And it's why so many women stay. They stay and they stay and they stay.
And they lose a lot. You every year, I think you lose a lot. You lose a little bit of soul every year, because you have close friends that know. They know, they've seen bruises, they've seen them misbehaving, they've seen the start and the end of it, and then they've seen you glowingly, go back and make all the excuses under the sun. Oh, he's stressed at his job, he's upset, he's tired. It's just you know, we had an argument and it went too far, and you put yourself in there and you blame yourself, of course.
So if you now could go back and talk to the 25-year-old, the 30-year-old, that, you know, what would you say to them?
Oh, gee, I think I would say try and pick up your confidence when it matters. A lot of my confidence was out here. I was a salesperson, I was successful, I was so keen to please my husband and my parents and be successful, but I needed it back in here in the real spot. I really needed to really be honest, and I wasn't being honest about our relationship and about what it was doing to my children. That's my life's greatest regret, what they saw and heard and went through. And I just would implore anybody that the little eyes are watching, it goes into them, it goes into their bones.
You know, obviously, we all know people whose marriages haven't worked, and I had a friend a few years ago who was in a marriage that wasn't physically abusive, but certainly was emotionally abusive. There was no intimacy in her marriage, and I think they'd been, in 10 years, they'd made love twice. And her husband said he didn't find her attractive and all of these things, but they cohabited together, they threw parties together, their life looked fine on the outside. And they were both just busy doing their own thing, raising their boys. And I remember her saying to me, well, I stay because it's good for the kids. She had 2 boys. And I remember saying to her, how is it good for your sons to look up and think this is a marriage?
Absolutely. And children know, they absolutely know. You can't fake it with them. And that was one of the biggest surprises. My children were so hyper excited with my new life. And my daughter actually drew me this beautiful picture, I still have it, of all these doors, because she read my diary where I was writing that I missed my first husband, and I did. That's the honest truth, I did. I missed him. And she drew all these beautiful doors, and then she wrote love, travel, career, opportunity, fun, you know, sport. And she said, Mum, until you've opened every one of those doors, I won't be happy. It's lovely, you know, I still look at that and think, I've opened them all.
So it's almost like now, I mean, there's a new chapter in your life.
Oh, absolutely.
There was literally a closing of that chapter. He ended up getting a 1-year jail sentence,
he did.
said. And so that closed. And
it was a suspended sentence in the end, but he appealed that in the Supreme Court, and which I was pleased. I knew it was gone and finished, which was great. The contract was ended. We'd probably both ripped it up, and as long as he came nowhere near me, I honestly can say to you, I don't hold any hate for him at all, and it's so lovely to say that, because I'm so happy. I've got a wonderful new life. I hope so much that he's never done it since. I hope it was a big enough scare, and I don't know, and I don't wish to know, but I just pray that he's learned a big lesson. It might be very naive of me, I don't know, but I hope he doesn't do it again.
I think just in sort of wrapping up, so many women find themselves in relationships that are abusive in some way. They feel whether it's neglected or just not supported or constantly put down. And too often we tolerate the intolerable.
Oh, absolutely.
We settle for so much less than what we want or deserve.
We do, and I now know I've got the complete opposite to that. Now if a butterfly landed on me, I'd complain. I said, you know, I now have the most beautiful relationship. It's fair, it's beautiful, it's got everything in it, and a rock, you know, under me. And now I can really be myself, and I'm safe in every way, emotionally and physically. I now know that none of those things are normal, but they were normal to me. They were very,
I think that's just
very
it.
Normal.
We can get so accustomed to it being a certain way that we think that is normal, that it just becomes what life's
denial,
like.
It's complete denial.
And I think some people go, oh, maybe happiness is we're just kidding ourselves. No one's really happy
I
in a
used to
marriage.
think everybody had those problems. I thought everybody went home to that. I really did.
I've heard people say that look, no marriage is really happy. It's all a facade, and I know that that's not true. But some people don't. They're like, well, this is just what you have to deal with.
Oh and it's not.
It's not, and that's it. I know it's not, and now you know it's
not.
I know.
It's just amazing the difference.
Yeah, there are good men out there.
Oh, there are, and
there are men who do not have affairs because they can.
Totally, and I have some of my best friends. I've always loved men, so I've never been, you know, still subscribed to. I'd rather see people get a lot of help rather than just leave on you know, a say-so, but get help first. But obviously if it's intolerable and it's long-term, you don't have to stay.
Both people have to be committed to the same future.
Absolutely.
And both people have to be willing to do the work on themselves.
That's right.
To make that possible, and to be generous in their commitment with the other person. I mean, there's always give and take. We're different human beings, but I think that's where sometimes we settle and we give up and we give up.
We commit to so much, and I think that that's the way women are, and it can be a fault.
Yeah, it's not the way women are, but it's the way some women have been conditioned to behave. And I think women can be any way they want to be. And I think the real thing is, do not sell out on yourself.
Absolutely.
And you are worthy of love and respect, and so a man thinking that you are absolutely beautiful and wonderful in every way.
It's intoxicating.
Even if not perfect.
Exactly. It is intoxicating, and it's worth waiting for.
And worth working for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.